Hey guys, Marshall here with another episode of Plausibly Anything. And it's been a while since I've gotten in a groove to really talk to you guys. So I'm really excited to be out here today. It's beautiful. Um, Went out for a little bike ride this morning. But I kind of just wanted to overview kind of like where we started last year. We were just very, we were, it was very experimental. We started to cover a lot of the chakras and really fundamental things, and I wanted to revisit basically all of that early stuff that we did last year, and I want to continue doing that too, because I thought, I think I can make a million videos on the same stuff and just relate experiences, and then even in the future I'd like to relate experiences even more to what we discuss. Oftentimes I'm not out, experiencing a whole lot. So in the future, I'd like to do that so that I can kind of bring more examples to the table. But the fundamental stuff was very important, because when you look at core aspects in a subjective manner, you can almost detach yourself from them. You start detaching yourself from the emotions attached, really. And along with that, whenever you look at your subconscious in a subjective manner, the things that you're telling yourself, you can start also, it's almost therapeutical to sort of detach yourself from those aspects that could be, causing you struggle. And then you understand where those thoughts come from, the thousands of years of biological conditioning. And with this, I've really dove into this. Alan Watts is a great philosopher. Detaching yourself from the self in these scenarios is really helpful. And we also cover a lot about balancing this. There's not one way to really to gauge exactly where you should be to be to have success or whatever in this area. You could spend a boatload of time just trying to argue with people about where you should be on this on the spectrum of all these things. How much you should discuss yourself, how much time you should spend, reflecting the ego versus the non-ego. And really, it's really up to you to just experiment with this stuff. I can't stress that more. Just experiment and find the balance that works for you. I'm getting some gale force winds right now. I'm trying to make sure I'm not tipping over here. But also the subconscious. Understand that the subconscious is 90% of the thoughts that you have, and most of those are geared in the past. And so the understanding that the subconscious is the past can help you with forgiving in the way that you're not even forgiving somebody, because it's gone. It's gone. It's the past. And so you don't really need to forgive anybody for stuff that have already happened. And you don't need to, whenever that sort of stuff comes up, you understand that's not even going to serve you, because it's in the past, and most of the time it'll lead you in a direction that won't even help you. It'll lead you into fear, trauma, spiraling, things like that aren't going to help you, and really cloud up your mind whenever you really want to, get down and talk to people. And then all of a sudden you sort of you see this trauma, you see these reactions you have, and and you start to revisit these lists once you start understanding them on a concrete level, and really dissecting them. God dang it! It's so windy out here today. It's ridiculous. Um, and so once you sort of really spend the time to understand and distinguish what it is, like there's trauma, and there's always something behind the trauma. There's a fear, and there's always something behind the fear, and there's all these things that you do because of something else, you know. And when you start understanding what's going on, what's triggering you, and you access this freedom, you know, you're able to self-express more. And the self-expression is a very important part of the chakras. And as we sort of discovered those chakras, we discovered all kinds of different things that go along with them. And really what the chakras are, you know, they're not a be-all solution. And I don't think any specific religion or path is just a be-all solution. You have to find a balance. The self-expression chakra is extremely important, I think. A lot of times we spend our days internally having conversations with our mind whenever you could be out doing something like this. You know, I'm not talking to anybody specifically, but I'm taking time out of my day to just talk about these things and reflect. Anybody can do this. And I've even had people tell me that this isn't anything. You know, this isn't me just going out here self-expressing. It's not anything because they're sort of, you know, pinging to, or they're gauging the status, and you have people that gauge status, gauge what you're doing by the outcome. So me being out here talking to you guys, there's no real concrete outcome to this. There's no real, you know, mass following that I'm going to get, and I'm okay with that because I'm looking at from an area of beliefs. This is one thing that I want to do, and I want to continue doing. So it doesn't really matter what the outcome is, because it's something I want to focus on. It's part of the fundamental chakras to help with somebody's, I guess, daily life and their energy. And it's very, honestly, when you start tackling different chakras, it's very therapeutic. Whenever you start focusing more on gratitude, empathy, and love for yourself, you're going to be able to love others. And that's the sacral chakra, being capable of love. We covered the self-expression as the throat chakra. We actually also talked about how we sort of circumvent and distinguish what's real and what's not. You know, real fears versus what's happening in your mind. And that is the third eye, where you're going to perceive the world in a way it's constructive, and it is going to taint your soul, and it's not going to take you down a dark path. So and then there's certain areas where the chakra doesn't cover it, but core beliefs is one area that I don't think the chakras really cover. Maybe that's in general the self or whatever. I'm not sure which one that is, but understanding your core beliefs, writing them down, is going to be extremely helpful to help on your journey through the chakras and completing you know, your best self, your wholeness, if you will. Your dharma, that's a Buddhist kind of thing, is finding a way to serve others, and that's a great way to sort of detach from the self, because whenever you're doing things to just kind of aid in your own perception of reality and how it should be done, trying to control things, trying to mold things. It's not really constructive. It's not going to be constructive to your state and your energy. So what you can do is try to find a way to serve people in the way that they want to be served, and those that want to be helped, you can help serve them. And that's a really fulfilling way to live. And then the root chakra and your connection with the earth, but also your connection with the universe in a way. Can you get into nature and really connect with it, or are you detached and disconnected from it? And a lot of times, if you're connected from nature, you're going to be kind of disconnected from yourself. So if you can't get in nature without coping or drinking or doing something, it's going to be destructive to your energy. So that's a great one. I really love whenever I get to listen to Alan Watts, and he says things like, "You are the primordial energy of the universe." And we're just beings that are very complex beings, very connected to the universe on this quantum level. I'd like to even get more and more into the idea of quantum socialization, and a term that it wasn't actually mine. I thought for a second it was mine. I was very proud of myself. I came up with this idea of all these aspects of socialization that can't be seen. These energy fields that we have that can't be seen in the way we interact with each other. I'm multitasking. I'm trying to stabilize my own mind by stabilizing my tripod. Not that tripod, but actively time blocking in your day to find time to do things. Also, that's a very constructive idea too. I've been doing that more and more, where I find sections of the day. I get an hour here, hour there, where I'm working hard on something for 30, 45 minutes, taking a little 10-minute break. Whether I'm doing singing practice, I'm getting some mentorship through a YouTube channel, whether I'm in the market doing some trades. I try to time block, spend an hour, approaching my mornings with marketing news, things like that, where I can establish if there's any trades I want to make on a specific day. I find better success if I can time block, and I feel more productive when I can do that, and I can look back and see what I'm doing. Obviously, that's beyond the chakras and things like that. That's just a normal day thing, and a note that I had here that I wanted to mention. And the more conscious you become about all these different triggers, fears, things happening that sort of destruct your energy and your state, you realize that there's a lot of other things that are taking your attention, and even taking your dopamine. You're only able to, I think, absorb so much dopamine, and so there's a lot of fake dopamine and a lot of different confusing dopamine. And whenever you start looking at your life in a subjective way, you can sort of see what dopamine are really destructing and what's productive. And so when you go down that path to look at things on a very core and fundamental level, it really changes you, and you're less just going through life without a path, and then instead you're figuring out what's actually going on. You can actually make that conscious effort, and not just a subconscious effort to go through life. And then one day, and then you can achieve, like, I'm hoping one day where I just, like, I mean, you're always gonna probably need to reflect and look at yourself, but imagine there's a future where I don't have to reflect as much, where I've been doing this for so much that I don't have to. It's like second nature. So I've been reflecting a lot in the last year or so, and doing these videos, but I want it to be second nature. And I want to be talking about different things. I want it to be more about, my personality coming out, instead of us, discussing the chakras and things like that. More about the experiences, and maybe even more videos about experiences, rather than me just sitting here, telling you what's happening in and out of my mind, and my reflections and things like that. But as you make this conscious effort, understanding how much the ego is like not your friend at all. And I experienced it somewhat of an ego death, if you will, where it forced me to sort of construct this new me, where I had, everyone kind of has somewhat of a front they put up, whether they're socializing, something like that. But my front, I think it was completely abolished, really. And so now I think after that was abolished, it was like a slow growth period where I could really be myself again. So I went from, and I don't think anyone has to really just eradicate their ego, but once again find that balance to sort of get away from it in a way. Once you look at what you're doing, once you see what other people are doing, once you see how a lot of women don't really know what they want, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're looking for someone else to complete them, pinging off them, mirroring them. They're trying to find their better half. They're trying to find someone better than them, and they really don't exactly even, they have a front. And honestly, a lot of interactions, a lot of relationships I've been in, there has been this front, and then if I'm able to bring that front down from a woman and really understand them, that's whenever they get really, really attracted to you, because they can finally be themselves, and they feel like they can't be themselves around their girlfriends, around other guys. And so they're really anchoring off you to bring them out of their front. So, and that's how a lot of people are too. If you've been friends with guys, the ones that can actually help you bring down the front and let you be yourself are going to be the ones that you enjoy spending time with the most. And those that have that energetic, free-flowing type of vibe to them. They're not trying to compete with you, they're rather collaborating. And they're not trying to control, they're released, this is how social attraction works. And this is what brings people back to wanting to hang out with you, whenever you can provide that comfortability for them to be themselves. And that's the mission we're on here. And we're gonna actually, I think over the next month or so, I think we are gonna revisit some specific chakras, write down some notes, see where we're at in our thought process. And I wish I was whenever I listened to Alan Watts, I was writing down exactly what things fall into different chakra categories, because he has so much good information on bringing a better conscious out. So I totally recommend listening to him. I listen to him at night. He has some videos that have a black screen, and I'm pretty sure I'm listening to his work I'm pretty sure he was like a professor or something, or he did public speaking, and I get a chance to listen to him talk about these core aspects and fundamental flaws to Western civilization. So it is really important to question things and question what's going on in your reality, and I hope that you can do that in a functional way, find the balance, not stress too much about it, not be controlling, because you don't need to. If you're on a self-help journey, you don't want to invade someone else's reality with your self-help nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, but to them it may be nonsense, and they may not even resonate with it, because a lot of people are won't resonate it because their minds aren't ready yet. So if this resonates with you, just take it in, and we got more stuff like this to come. Once again, I'm Marshall. This is Plausibly Anything, and I hope that you can subscribe to the channel and join me again on this journey through self-development. And check out the rest of the playlist, Mentoring 365. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.